Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by Boston Hemp Inc., Wednesday, May 22nd. And we are happy to be back, man. When we have days off during the course of the season, it's a fucking odd feeling. I'll tell you that. Yesterday, especially with no show and no hockey at night. But we are back, and so is the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. We have puck drop for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final tonight, the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers. And then Game 1 in the West, Edmonton Oilers, Dallas Stars tomorrow night. We're excited. These are two potentially tremendous series on paper. We're looking forward to it. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and Matt Robinson on a Wednesday with us instead of Thursday because he's on his way to DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area, to enjoy the festivities involving the Dallas Stars. He'll be traveling tomorrow, and I know he's looking forward to that. Can't wait for the conference finals. We'll start off just by reminding everyone we have betcasts for the first time ever. We have betcasts on back-to-back nights. We've never done back-to-back nights betcasts before in the history of the Ice Guys show until tonight and tomorrow night. We will be on with betcasts both nights for both Game 1s in the conference finals, including tonight, which is a free betcast, free for all, open to the public. So anyone that wants to can join us during the game tonight. East Final Game 1, live betcast. Note the start time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, not 7 because the game doesn't start till 8. So 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific for the start of the betcast tonight. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. So looking forward to Game 1 tonight and the betcast that will go with it for Panthers Rangers tonight starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow night, it's Oilers Stars Game 1 betcast for the West Final, but that one is Patreon exclusive. So with that one, make sure you sign up at patreon.com/iceguys and note the start time for that, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow night for that Thursday betcast for Oilers and Stars. Again, that's the start time of the game. So again, that one is Patreon exclusive tomorrow night. So again, if you want to join us for that one, sign up for just $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. A brief word on Canucks Oilers. Obviously, it was Game 7 on Monday night. Congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. I thought for, well over 2 periods, they were the much better team. I mean, they were just all over Vancouver. Vancouver couldn't really get much going. I thought it was a great team effort defensively. And Skinner, when he had to be called upon, was very solid in net. And it looked like Edmonton was going to run away and hide when they were up 3-0 going into the third period. There just wasn't much push in Vancouver offensively. But then all of a sudden, the 3-1 goal gives them life, and it certainly gave me some fucking life, I'll tell you that. Connor Garland gets the goal, our bargain bin special selection on Monday for Game 7 at plus 410. Thrilled to see that. And then Philip Hronek with a point shot that gets through the traffic, beats Skinner for a 3-2. Edmonton lead, cut to 1, and then all of a sudden the Hornets' nest was on in the final few minutes. Edmonton hanging on for dear life to wrap up that series, but they do, and they hang on and survive a 3-2 Oiler win to advance to the West Final to face Dallas. Job well done by Edmonton. Like for more than 2 periods, they were better than Vancouver, although it certainly got way more nerve-wracking for Oiler fans than it had to be. But I wouldn't expect anything different, guys, from Vancouver, but to go out that way, to go out swinging, to go out fighting, to go out never quitting, never giving up. And that's exactly what we saw from them right till the end. And this does not change a thing for me as far as the Canucks are concerned. This was a phenomenal season. This was a turnaround season. This is something that you can build on moving forward. And you have found yourself one hell of a friggin' coach in Rick Tocchet. What a job this year by Rick Tocchet. You're surefire Coach of the Year, in my opinion, in the NHL. Jack Adams Award winner, without a doubt, coming up when I'm sure we'll hear that announcement that Rick Tocchet will win that award, and deservedly so. There's lots that they can build on. Quinn Hughes, an outstanding year. I thought he definitely was hurt at the end of that series. I don't think he was 100%. He battled through it. Great performances from JT Miller. He was incredible. Brock Besser before his absence, which ended up being obviously a big blow to Vancouver in Game 7. Connor Garland, Dakota Joshua. You go on down the list, different Nils Höglander, different players that stepped up for them throughout the playoffs. I thought Carson Soucy was a great addition from Seattle. He was good on that blue line. I thought Tyler Myers, the Chaos Giraffe, we clown on him with that nickname sometimes, but I thought he played pretty well for much of the playoffs. And then you can't ask for much more in a tough spot with Thatcher Demko being unavailable. You can't ask for much more than what Artur Shilov's delivered. There is no question about that. And as far as Canuck fans, when it comes to Shilovs, as the Beatles would say, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah. That's exactly what the Canuck fans feel right now about their young Latvian netminder. They love him, and they should, for that incredible effort he put forth in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, Alex, we wrap that up. A little bow on the Oilers-Canucks as the Oilers advance. Nothing to be shamed about for the Canucks, though.
No, absolutely not. They gave a valiant effort, and even though they were getting manhandled early in that Game 7, they were able to, like I said, bounce back and make it competitive late in the contest and give themselves a chance. Like I said, no one expected them to be one win away from the Western Conference Final at the beginning of the season. So, like I said, great job done by Rick Tocchet and company. Definitely deserves the Jack Adams Award. And this team, like I said, they have a lot to build upon. High expectations next year, though. You can't go and just regress and don't pull a Seattle, where all of a sudden now your team looks like you're back to being a bottom feeder, middle of the road kind of club. You gotta deliver this again in some semblance of fashion. Be a playoff team next year, and I think they can do that. The emergence now of Artur Shilovs is definitely the backup for next year to Thatcher Demko, maybe even the starter, depending on if Demko's fully ready, if he maybe had to have some kind of surgeries or anything in the offseason. That's something we'll have to kind of keep an ear out for. Like I said, what guys were playing hurt and may not be available by the time training camp rolls around necessarily. But if they can have everybody back and they make a couple of additions and fill in some pieces, there's no reason that this Vancouver team couldn't be right back in this spot or even go further next season.
Yeah, no question about that. Like I said, you know what, Adam C., you're actually, the effort in the game, the first two periods, you're right, it was disappointing. And it was pretty bad. I will say that about Vancouver. What I mean by valiant effort is the way they responded in the third. When they're down 3-0, they could have been absolutely distraught. It's not happening. Wave the white flag. There's not really any sort of push to get back into the game. They already felt like it was over, maybe. You didn't see that out of Vancouver in the third period. That's what I give them credit for. That's, to me, where the valiance comes in.
And we have to give a ton of credit to Edmonton.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're the team that had to exercise demons and try to get to this point. This is now the second Western Conference Final appearance in the McDavid-Draisaitl era. So for them to step up the way they did early and take that crowd out of it in the first period and get those goals, that's massive for them. And now that they're, on to the Western Conference Final, can they keep that energy and momentum up? And that's the thing. That was such a kind of draining, way for them to have to kind of wrap up that series. It wasn't, like I said, just the cleanest of efforts. And now you head back on the road tomorrow night, which is going to be an absolutely electric crowd down there in Dallas. How do they respond after that Game 7 being on the road, now continuing on the road? That's something we have to look out for.
I have an idea how they'll respond, and more importantly, I have an idea how I think Dallas might play, particularly in Game 1, but we'll get to that in just a bit. But, Matt, you now have an opponent in the West Final for your Dallas Stars, Edmonton taking down Vancouver.
Yeah, it was. It ended up being a pretty exciting game in the end. I mean, Vancouver more or less rolled over for a lot of that game, but they kind of, had a little pushback at the end. I was a little ready to be like, well, I guess we'll see what's going to happen. But obviously, would have loved 6 overtimes at 3-3, just killing each other for the second round. But no, it's interesting how in that series I kind of flip-flopped. Like early in the series, I would have preferred to play Edmonton. Down the stretch, Edmonton looked a little sharper, but really it wasn't as much Edmonton that was more worrisome to me. It was that Vancouver, the Besser news came out. That's a big hit. So I was sort of, I don't know, cheering for Vancouver. But at the end of the day, I didn't really have an opinion. I was fine with either option. I do think McDavid's, hurting a little bit. I think there's something upper body. His legs look fine, but just there's certain plays that just don't look like true like regular season McDavid. So and everybody's got something going on, but when you're the best player, arguably the best player in the world, you injured is a big factor when your team doesn't really have a ton of depth. So it was a good game. Obviously, love a game 7. Glad it got interesting at the end. The first period was sort of a snooze fest one direction, but yeah, they made it a game. Vancouver made it a game, and hats off to them. I think a little bit of time in the regular season, they were sort of overhyped as being like, oh, they're the scariest team in the West. But I definitely think they deserved, some hype because they really were playing well at times during the season. So unfortunate news about Besser. Hopefully he has a full recovery and comes back next year. That's scary stuff that's beyond like, a broken leg from a play or a broken wrist. Like, blood clots aren't really always related to hockey. I mean, I'm sure it could be a recurring injury that happened, but hope him the best. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the goalie situation shakes out moving into next season.
Yeah, no doubt. One bit of news, by the way, before we get to the series, we're going to preview the series overall first. So series bets, series player props, that kind of thing for both series. Then we'll do the game 1 previews after that. But first, Jim Hiller is the official head coach now of the LA Kings. They took the interim tag off. A little surprised, to be honest. But nevertheless, there was some signs of life. There was some turnaround in their game when Hiller took over, but that happens with a lot of different coaches. I'm just a little surprised they didn't go further in their coaching search than that. We'll see how it goes. Maybe next year it's a good season, but I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the Travis Green hire with Ottawa. I think he could have done a little better here if you're the LA Kings. Alex, did you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I thought they could have probably waited around or at least, interviewed a few more guys. I don't know if Hiller's the best of the bunch that's still available, but obviously they said, different logistics you have to work out. And a lot of people are saying that this is a decent hire, that he deserves a full-time crack at an NHL job. And that may be the case. I just don't know if LA may be the best fit for him. I just didn't like what I saw from that Kings team in the second half of the year. Maybe we should, could see something different with a full training camp and everything under his belt. But I think that there's a couple other names that I would have probably tried to, kick the tires on before just full-time bringing Hiller back.
I can't believe how little scuttlebutt I have heard in the last few weeks regarding all these coaching openings about Jay Woodcroft and how little we have heard his name. And people have it's almost like they've forgotten what he was able to do with the Oilers here the last 2 years. I still think Seattle's a fit for him, and especially now because, look, Ron Francis's little buddy there, Rod Brindamore, is now off the market. Right. That's the other news. Re-signed for 5 years with the Carolina Hurricanes. So that opens the door for, someone like a Jay Woodcroft, which I think would be a nice fit there in Seattle. But again, I'm wondering if he's even going to be a serious consideration at this point because we're just not hearing his name mentioned all that much.
Some team might have an embarrassment of riches and grab him as assistant coach. That's something I would love the Hawks to personally do that. Keep him around because he could be that guy where if you do have some kind of shuffle or if your current head coach loses the room, he's the perfect fit for an interim guy. And I think he's a great fit for an assistant coach to run offenses, run power plays, something that a lot of teams in the league desperately need. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins might need somebody to work on their power play a little bit. I think there's a few teams that could use that kind of help. Woodcroft would be a perfect fit. So if he's not a head coach somewhere, some team might get really lucky and have him as an assistant.
Yeah, no question. And again, we're talking about a Pittsburgh team where their power play was an absolute disaster. So, like I said, Jay would probably be a really good fit, no question for that. All right, let's get into the series. We're going to start with the East Final first, which, of course, gets underway tonight. Now, this is just overall series perspective. Florida Panthers, New York Rangers. We've got the Panthers minus 150 series favorites here over the New York Rangers. Now, I have Florida to win the East plus 350 preseason. This is preseason. I had this. And then I took a little Florida, or not preseason. It was January. Sorry. This was not a preseason bet. This was January when they made that crazy ass run because actually at the beginning of the season, I wasn't fully sold on and on board with Florida, being able to duplicate what they did last year. But then in January, they convinced me. They went on that crazy. Remember, they destroyed Colorado on the road. That's the game that did it to me. I'm like, holy shit, man, this team's rolling right now. They could absolutely win the East and get to the Stanley Cup final. And that's when I bet it. Plus 350, Florida to win the East, plus 700 for them to win the Stanley Cup. So I have those futures pending going into this series right now. So for that reason, I can obviously approach this series a little bit differently. And what I've done here is I've taken a little New York Rangers plus 130 here in the series. And why I'm taking it now is very simple. I think they're very live to win game one tonight here against the Florida Panthers. Doesn't mean they will, but we have seen the New York Rangers. New York Rangers have been very good in two roles, extended rest and one-day rest, or back-to-backs. They've been good in both roles, back-to-backs and long rest, lengthy rest. So that's the first thing that came to mind for me with the Rangers, is why they might be able to handle game one, even though this has been, a team that's a Florida team that's been in these situations too. The way I see it, though, it's kind of weird being in this spot, because even though I'm taking the Rangers plus 130, I am still hoping Florida wins this series, and I actually still think Florida will win this series. But to me, I think the Rangers, it's kind of and if I didn't have the position I'm on with Florida for the series, I'd definitely be looking, or for the futures, I should say, West in the Cup or East in the Cup. I definitely would be looking maybe at a Rangers game one and Florida to win the series combination, because I think that definitely makes some sense here in this one. But I'm on Rangers plus 130. But again, don't misconstrue that for me thinking they're going to win the series, because I'm hoping that's not the case. I have the Florida futures. I still think Florida's going to win this series. But the reason I'm taking the Rangers now is because I do think the Rangers could win game one here tonight against the Florida Panthers. So plus 130 for the series. And then there are a couple of props I like. The ones Alex mentioned already, those are the biggest positions for me in this series. We're on Florida 4-2, Florida 4-3, Rangers 4-2, Rangers 4-3, and the series to go 6 and 7, both plus money around plus 200, close to it. And again, any of those profit, you're in great shape as far as profit is concerned. I'd be shocked, and I truly mean this when I say it, I would be stunned if this series is fewer than 6 games. This is a close series. This is definitely one of those series where it's going to be back and forth. You've got two excellent goaltenders, the Battle of Russians, Bobrovsky and Shesterkin. You've got definitely a Rangers team that I think's improved here as the playoffs have gone along. I thought they were they just took advantage of a bad Washington team. I thought they elevated their game against Carolina, and the power play was awesome. It's definitely something Florida's going to have to watch in this series, is staying out of the box. There's no question. But I think when you look at it, even the even strength play got questioned a little bit for the New York Rangers at times during the playoffs. But it was also, that 5-on-5 play and Chris Kreider's hat trick. Many of those goals were 5-on-5. So that's good to see that the Rangers did get some production and did get some improvement with their 5-on-5 play going into this series, which is going to help them, because we know the Panthers are an awesome 5-on-5 team. There's no question. So the fact the Rangers really steadied the ship and improved their game at even strength is going to help them in this series. So like I said, I'm on those props, same thing that I was on with the Rangers-Carolina series in the last round. 6 and 7 game series, and then Panthers 4-2, 4-3, Rangers 4-2, 4-3. I mean, it's just a great approach. Because it definitely means that you put yourself, especially when you think so strongly that the series will go a minimum 6 games like I do and like Alex does. It's just a very, very good approach. And then just some smaller bets on most points in the series. Vinny Trocheck against his old team, plus 700. I'm going to sprinkle on that for the Rangers. No question. I think there's definitely a look there. Barkov for the Panthers, plus 550. I've been so impressed by the captain of the Florida Panthers here in these playoffs. So for most points, I'm going to go with a couple of those. And then for most goals in the series, Verhaeghe plus 650, Kreider at plus 800, just because of what you've seen all playoffs, and especially in the clinching game against Carolina. And Alexis Lafreniere at 14-1. And there's a reason why I like him at that price to have the most goals in the series in particular. We'll get to that when we talk about game one specifically, but there's some little nuances and intangibles that are working in Alexis Lafreniere's favor going into this series. So took a shot there, 14-1 with Alexis Lafreniere as well for most goals in the series. So that's everything I've got as far as series bets here. Alex, what do you think here? Series bets and anything to do with those for Panthers Rangers?
Yeah, like I said, I mentioned it right as the series came to a close, and you just talked about it as well. But I like the 6-game, 7-game stack here. And I don't have Panthers to win the East. Ironically enough, I have Panthers to win the Cup at plus 950. I grabbed it kind of a little bit earlier than you did with that Florida with the East and Cup, so I got a little bit of a better price with that.
Yeah, I only have 700. Yeah.
But so in essence, because I don't in the East, I can go with the 6-game, 7-game stack and really not have to pick an actual side here. Obviously, would lean toward Rangers being the dog. And if you like Florida, except we kind of lean toward Rangers winning game 1. And I'll talk about it in a little bit how I would look at betting game 1, and it involves some serious looks. But I think this is going to be a real good back and forth kind of a series, and this is going to be one where we see it open up early, but then we'll see the defense kind of shine later on in games. So obviously, looking at those totals early in the contest, I said if you're looking at player props for the series, I think the majority of the points and goals you'll need will be coming earlier in this series rather than, say, game 6 or game 7. I don't expect those to be, just knockdown, drag out, boat races where we might see some goals early in game 1 and even in game 2, in my opinion. So I don't have any player prop looks that I'm looking at. I will take a small shot with 3 or more overtime games at plus 750, where if you look at 2 or more, you're only plus 165. That's a terrible number. At 750, that's worth a spot. I could easily see where 3 of these 7, like I said, I believe it goes the full distance. 3 out of these 7 games could easily go past regulation. So at 750, that's a decent enough price to jump in on. And then I'll mention a couple of things I'm looking at for game 1.
No doubt. And like I say, this is a great series. You know what's great, too, about this series? And I'm looking at the lineups. I'm looking at the friggin' lineups. Both teams going into this series, everyone's healthy. Everyone's healthy. Both sides. That's incredible for this time of year. Eastern Conference, especially for the Panthers and the physical war that the Boston series was. That they've escaped that series fully healthy, that's like a miracle at this time of year. Holy shit. I mean, and even the Rangers, it's not like the Rangers had a tiptoe through the tulips there against Carolina. That was a pretty tough series for them. So from that standpoint, like I said, that for these two teams to be pretty much their full complement and their full rosters on hand for the beginning of this series is very impressive. It's almost miraculous that that's the case. Matt, series bets, just overall series thoughts for you, East Final, Florida, New York.
Yeah. So I lean Florida as far as the series goes. I do think it's going to be a pretty back and forth battle. I'm going to take a shot on Florida game 1 in the series just to get a little better odds than Florida minus 150. But, I wouldn't be shocked if the Rangers do win tonight. The only other real plays I'm looking at, I am on 6 and 7 games, respectively. I don't know if I'm going to do the full, the full breakdown of both teams 4-2, 4-3. I do like that idea, so I might look into doing that before tonight's game. I do think that's a good look. As far as like player props and specials, I don't know what's going to happen in this series. Are both goalies going to stand on their head and every game is going to be 2-1? It might be, but there's so much firepower on both ends. I do think things open up. I think in games in that Carolina series, you saw Sturkin can be human. Bob is 35 and had to play a lot of games this season. Especially if there's some power plays, I do think there's going to be some goals in this series. So 2 player props I like, especially for the fact that I lean Florida, is Barkov and Matty T over 3 goals in the series. Both have pretty good odds, so I think either of those guys could get to that 3 mark. Barkov may wait till game 7 and score 3 of them. So he's a big gamer late in the series, and I just think Matty T's got that. He's just a playoff caliber player, and I think he's going to cause some havoc for New York. I think Carolina started to, but that Washington series, they didn't really have to worry about too much from that front. I think Florida is really going to be deep in the crease, and there's going to be a lot of garbage type goals. Just in the sense of there's chaos in front of the net and then someone buries a backdoor or something like that. So I'm excited for this series. If I was a fan of either of these teams, I would not feel great either way, just because I think it's going to be a bloodbath. So that'll probably be it for me as far as the series. But I will look at 4-2, 4-3 both ways because I completely agree with you. I would be completely shocked if it doesn't go more than 5 games. So at least that 6-game mark. But I could easily see it going 7 and back to MSG, and then who the fuck knows what happens. So really excited to watch tonight. Think we have an exciting game and an exciting series.
I agree. I mean, I can't wait. This is just fantastic. I just hope it lives up because just the thought of how this series could play out to me sounds fantastic. Now it could be sometimes you get a letdown and it's an unexpected lopsided series. I would be just extremely surprised if that's the case here with the Panthers and the Rangers. And here's a little X factor I'll throw out at you for this series. Philip Hedl is a playoff performer from years past with the Rangers, and he's healthy. He's in the lineup for game 1, which we'll get to in just a moment. That is something to watch for. Can he make an impact? And he'll certainly make the 5-on-5 game even stronger and makes their lineup deeper up front for the New York Rangers, having him back in the fold. And as we turn our attention now to the West Final, I have to flash up the Cheshire Cat's comment here, because when this guy makes a declaration before the series about how he feels about a certain series, then it's going to be nothing but hell, fire, and brimstone, and scorn, and ridicule, and hatred, and vitriol for the team he's picking against. And it looks like Cheshire Cat says the Stars will dominate the Oilers. So we saw Cheshire Cat when he got his bandwagon.
How the tables turn
in the second round against Boston. And what did he do? Is like, oh, Maroon's a bitch. Marchand is soft. And, oh, Boston's crybabies. And they're whining like crazy. And they're such a soft team. They're such a joke. And yada, yada, yada is what we heard from Cheshire Cat all series long. Railing, and I mean railing against the Boston Bruins, supporting the Florida Panthers. So what this means now is it looks like it's going to be Oilers hatred, Oilers vitriol. Look at that Evander Kane. What's he doing? Playing so bad, he's betting on the other side. He's going to come up with some kind of jokes like that in this series. Oh, what's wrong with Connor Like, that's what he's going to do. I mean, that's Cheshire Cat. Like, when he supports a team in a game, or in this case, a series, like he did Florida over Boston, he is going to support Florida, and they can do no wrong. And Boston is just the scummiest, shittiest, just pathetic bunch of losers you'll ever encounter in life. That's the way Cheshire Cat approaches things when he supports one team and goes against the other. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of his comments in this series coming up, knowing that he likes Dallas so much. Speaking of that series, here it is. Dallas minus 135 favorites here in the Western Conference Final. If you're Edmonton, there's clear disadvantages going into this series. There's no question. And look, I've got big-time futures at stake here with Dallas to win the West, Dallas to win the Stanley Cup. Biggest futures of the season. Biggest preseason position I took futures-wise was Dallas to win the West and to win the Stanley Cup. So I'm certainly hoping like hell they're in the Stanley Cup final at the very least. And there's no question, 4 lines up front. Who's got the better depth? Dallas. Defense, who's got the better depth? Dallas. Who has the better goaltending situation, especially when we saw the bobbles from Stuart Skinner early in the series against Vancouver? There's no question that it belongs to Jake Ottinger in Dallas. And look, Jake had his own, couple of games there where he looked off. The game 5 in the third period against Colorado wasn't very good from him, but still, you take him over the goaltending situation with Edmonton. There's no question. There's a lot of areas where Dallas has advantages, but you are still talking about 2 of the best players in the world and in the sport, in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And there is some chatter going on and some rumblings that Connor's playing through an injury. He's not 100%. And you're right. There were times in that Vancouver series we didn't see that, beast mode Connor McDavid, where he just dominates and took over. He's going to need to be that here in this series. Okay, because pedestrian Connor McDavid, like we saw for much of the Vancouver series, not going to cut it. It's not going to beat a team like this. It's just that it's just not. So that's got to be something that you factor in here with the Western Conference final here with the Oilers and the Stars. Like I said, I'm on Dallas to win the West and to win the Cup. I don't need to touch the futures market here, or I don't need to touch the series price, and I'm not here when it comes to this series. So I'm just going to go right to some series props that I like here when it comes to Oilers and Stars. It's Wyatt Johnston all the time, plus 500 to be the leading goal scorer in the series. I think you've got to look in that direction as far as he is concerned. I like that price quite a bit as far as Wyatt Johnston goes. Zach Hyman's, a deserving favorite, plus 350. He's got the potential to score a bunch. He's done it, obviously, all playoffs, no question. So, I really don't mind that kind of a look. I'll throw a couple longer shots at you here as well. For both teams. I think for Dallas, Ben at plus 2,200, this is a chance for him to put his stamp on this series and just say, you know what? We finally got to get to a Cup final, and I'm the captain of this ship, and I've got to be the guy to lead the way for Dallas. So I think his prop, for goal prop or even point prop as well, most points, most goals in the series is worth a look. And I'll throw it a 3 for Edmonton. Now, that could be longer shots. Now, again, do I expect Edmonton to win the series? No. But it's not like they're going to get completely shut down and shut out, especially when you've got a scary-ass power play like they have, although they haven't met the road grader that is Chris Tanev yet on the penalty kill here for Dallas, like they'll see here. But I think don't sleep on, because he got going a little bit late in the series. I'm telling you, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and he's up on the top line. I mean, he got going in the last few games of that Vancouver series for the Edmonton Oilers, and he's up there with McDavid and Hyman right now on the top line. I think Nugent-Hopkins 28-1. There's value in that price with the way he performed and the fact he's going to likely start game one with McDavid again. And then I'll throw out the defenseman Evan Bouchard. Plus 4,000. This guy is shooting the puck a lot. He's finding the back of the net. He scored the game winner in Game 4 of the Vancouver series. So there's definitely some deeper plus price shots here. As far as those point and goal prop markets, most points, most goals in the series, I think are worth a look there when it comes to the West Final. Alex, West Final series thoughts here, Edmonton, Dallas.
Yeah, I got, futures on Dallas. Like you said, they're not the biggest. The biggest ones I had were Vancouver, but still fairly large with Vancouver, or Dallas rather, to win the West and to win the Stanley Cup. So I'm trying to find the right way to maybe have a slight small hedge. Like I said, Edmonton plus 115 is not really the juiciest of spots. So I might wait until after game one. If Dallas can win game one, I still might grab a little bit of Edmonton inflated, just small to just kind of cover myself on that. But other than that, this is one I'm just kind of probably just going to let ride out and play by game to game basis. There's not much that sticks out here. I don't have a feel for, if this is going to be a long or short series. I could see Dallas winning this thing 4-1. I can see Edmonton maybe taking this in 7. So it's just not the best of reads. I think this is going to be a better in-game series and a better game-by-game series than having anything kind of nailed down for the long term. So I'm just mostly riding with my Dallas to win the West, and we'll probably try to grab a little bit of Edmonton just to kind of as a smaller hedge and just go game by game.
No doubt. I'm not edging. This is normally, it's once in a while I do when I feel like there's a big threat as far as the opponent. I'm not sure that threat is as looming here for Dallas from Edmonton as opposed to, say, the New York Rangers for Florida in the other series. But again, the one thing though about Edmonton is when you've got 97 and you've got Draisaitl as well, you're probably good enough still to at least take a couple games in this series. So to me, I keep coming back to Dallas in 6, and I actually am going to sprinkle a little bit on Dallas in 6, exact series result. Dallas in 6. Dallas wins in Edmonton in Game 6, and we know they're one of the top 2 road teams in the NHL, so they're very capable of winning a series on the road. Matt, I think you feel a little bit differently as far as how much Edmonton's going to push Dallas, but what do you think here, Oilers Stars?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Edmonton won a game or two. With the superstars they have, maybe there's a game they get 4 power plays. That's going to be a tough game for Dallas to get the win. They're going to need Ottinger to stand on his head in a game like that. And maybe we do see Andre, steal a couple in this game, and then it's a shorter series. So I do think Dallas is the deeper team. I mean, I don't think I'm biased for thinking that. I feel like that's kind of the consensus. But Edmonton has looked good, defensively in the playoffs. But they've played, LA and then a Vancouver team that was sort of up and down, playing with a third goalie. I don't think either of those teams really compare to Dallas, or really, I don't think either of those teams likely would have beat Colorado or Vegas. So I think Dallas has obviously been through the gauntlet, which does have its negatives as well. And they did have, essentially a week off before this game, which is, nice. But will they come out and break the curse of their game one streak? Pete DeBoer was on the radio, the Dallas sports radio yesterday, and he's like, just so everyone knows, that's the game plan is not to lose game one. Whether the players show up and execute, we'll see, but it's never his hope. And so I do think it's possible they break it. That place is going to be rocking tomorrow night, Western Conference Finals, game one. So as far as the series goes, so I already have a West future from back in February. I think it's plus 610 or plus 580, somewhere in that range. So I obviously have that in my back pocket. I'm probably not going to jump on Stars minus 135, just because there's better options to take if you lean Stars. But I think I'm going to do a little Stars 404142. They're all plus 500 or more. So as long as one of the three happens, you're ending up profitable. The sweep is obviously a stretch. I don't think that that's going to happen. But given how good Dallas is on the road, if they do win game one and take that momentum into game two, and they're up 2-0 going to Edmonton, I think it's definitely possible. And if not a sweep, then probably in 5. So those are the series bets I'm looking at. Obviously, there's a little bit of my heart in there. I'm hoping Dallas takes care of business and doesn't, leave anything to chance for a game 7. Again, we have Pete DeBoer in our back pocket, but I'd rather see them take care of business. I don't think Edmonton is quite as deep as, maybe a Vegas and even Colorado, having to play up in the altitude. So I think while the Rangers have progressively had harder series each round, I think Dallas, it's almost been the opposite in a sense, especially with how Georgiev played for Colorado. That was the biggest difference for me than what I expected. I thought, he was going to roll over and die, and he really kept them in the series and was the reason they were in 6 games. As far as props go, the two that I'm looking at are similar to yours, Ian, but on BetMGM, Ben to get 1 point per game is plus 5,000. So I'm going to throw a couple bucks on that. If it is a short series, Ben is traditionally good against Western Canadian teams. He's from, the Vancouver area, but if you look up his historical stats, he always seems to play well against Western Canadian teams. So I think, that's worth a look. He is on their power play. He plays with guys like Johnston Stankoven. If it's a 4 or 5 game series, for him to get a couple goals and an assist here and there wouldn't be that crazy. And, that's a good payout. Also, the same exact bet with Wyatt Johnston. He's obviously, having I don't know if I'd say he's the favorite for the Conn Smythe. I know, betting wise, it's obviously Jake Onger if Dallas were to win the cup.
Not if you look at the odds.
He's got to be.
Yep.
He's over Onger right now. I thought it was
not if you look at the odds. He isn't the favorite right now.
Onger's the favorite.
He won. Wyatt.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. But that he is obviously having a Conn Smythe type of playoff so far.
Absolutely.
He's definitely been the most effective player for Dallas in the total 13 games. And him to get 1 point every game is plus 2,500. So still really good odds. He's been chipping in most nights. And I could see that continuing. And he's a guy that, maybe he gets some shifts on that top line. Maybe he's with Ben and Stankoven. It doesn't really matter. He looks good. So those will be the 2 props. But yeah, I'm at the end of the day, I'm just hoping Dallas takes care of business. and then, maybe gets a couple days off extra on the other series that I do think is going to go 6 or 7 for sure, and can kind of, prep for that depending on how that series looks. So that's where I'm at for the Western Conference Finals, and we'll see how the series plays out. There may be some added games in there. If Dallas loses tonight, then I might look at a Dallas series, because it'll probably be plus money.
I have Wyatt Johnston and Jake Ottinger 25-1 for the Conn Smythe.
Nice.
And this was toward the end of the Vegas series in the first round that I bet it, both of them. We started to see Wyatt come around and have that overtime winner against Vegas in, what was it, game 3? That's when I bet it. It was after game 3, and they got back into that series 2-1, and it was 25-1 with both of them. And now you see the price that's out there. That ship has sailed, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for anything close to that kind of a price with both of them. Ottinger's like plus 500 at most spots, and Wyatt's like 14, 15-1 at best, depending on where you look. So we've certainly got great prices right there with both Wyatt Johnston and Jake Ottinger in the Conn Smythe market. I still think Wyatt does have value at 14-1. It's hard to see it now with Jake Ottinger at plus 500. I would say right now, as far as the Shesterkin plus 5, like, look, if the Rangers win the Stanley Cup, he's winning it. I mean, Igor Shesterkin, I think that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. There's no question. I would say even for Edmonton, even though McDavid hasn't had that take it over dominance, he's still the most likely candidate to win it if the Oilers are able to get to the Stanley Cup final and win it. But as far as Florida, you've got Tkachuk plus 900, Barkov plus 650, Bobrovsky plus 1,800. I think they're all decent candidates. But again, I think it's a dead heat right now with the Florida guys. There's a case for Tkachuk. There's a case for Verhaeghe. There's a case for Barkov. There's a case for Bobrovsky if he heats up in these last couple series. So I'd pump the brake. The Florida part of it is the one I'm a little more uncertain of for this Conn Smythe future.
Yeah, if I were looking to grab anybody for Florida for value's sake, I would go Bobrovsky, because we know goalies get love with this award quite often, and I think he might be the one to cut through the logjam of Verhaeghe and Tkachuk and Barkov. So I'm seeing a 16-1 at FanDuel. If I had to pick anyone from Florida for a Conn Smythe, he would be the guy I go with. Like I said, even with Edmonton, I'd maybe take a split with Draisaitl and McDavid, whichever guy can step up and take these two series over to help them win would be the one to jump out in front and get that. So if you're looking for a way to try to bet the Conn Smythe awards at this point and use that as kind of I'm getting a better price on this team to win the cup, those would be the options to go with. But for Dallas, it would have to be only Ottinger at this point, maybe a little sprinkle on Johnston. And I don't even see anybody else other than Shesterkin that would be of a dark throwing value for the Rangers.
Great question from Donnie. What would you do if you are holding the Oilers to win the cup and nothing on Dallas? I would put something on Dallas, absolutely, because I think Dallas is winning the series. I do.
Yeah.
And I would want something on that. I would feel utterly confident with Edmonton winning this series and having that future and nothing on the Dallas Stars. I'm in basically the reverse position, where I've got Dallas and I've got to determine if I want something, if anything, on Edmonton. But right now, as far as that goes, I would definitely look towards something on the
and if you already have Dallas, like Matt kind of mentioned, he's going to be sprinkling on it, and this is a great thing to do. I've done this before. I actually did this with the Hawks in 2013. The 4-0, 4-1, 4-2. And the way that I personally break it down is I go half a unit on 4-2. I go a 30% of a unit on 4-1, and then the last 20% I go on the sweep. So that way I'm staggering things out to, obviously the most likely in those spots is usually going to be your 4-2. That's kind of going to be your cheapest price, which means it gives you the flexibility to kind of stagger out from the 4-0 and 4-1 look. So that's not a bad look if you like any of these teams to win in a series. You can kind of roll with that option. And then, of course, you can make a decision on 4-3 somewhere between games 2 and 3.
No doubt. All right, let's go to game 1 now specifically. We got game 1 tonight, East final. And again, this is our BetCast free-for-all tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. The price is basically now even money, -110 both sides, 5.5 the total here in game 1 tonight, Panthers and Rangers. I'm on the Rangers plus 130 as a semi-hedge for the Florida positions. I mentioned that earlier. So I'm not touching a side here in game one, but I am all over, no pun intended, the over trifecta tonight. Over first period, both teams to score first period, over 5.5. I don't need to rhyme off the numbers, but they're strong and they're definitely profitable. Game one overs going back to the first round of the playoffs. There's been way more overs in game one than not. There's been obviously time off for both of these teams. Florida hasn't played since Friday. Rangers haven't played since Thursday. I expect, sloppy play with the puck at times defensively. Maybe the goalie's not overly sharp. Remember the Rangers and Hurricanes, very similar situation game one where there was a lot of time off going into that series, and we saw 4-3. We saw Bruins Panthers in game one in the last round also go over the total. So yeah, this is just what you get early in a series, and I've said this all playoffs long. Overs early in the series, unders later in the series, and definitely I think we're going to see more of the same here tonight with Panthers and Rangers. So over trifecta is the clear number one stance for me when it comes to game one here tonight, Panthers, Rangers. I'll get to props in a moment. Alex, you first. What do you think game one East final?
Yeah, I'd like the over. I'm going with the buy factor, though. I like more of the first period and full game. I probably will grab some both teams to score, but we have the betcast tonight, so that's when I'll be looking to do that. Also looking to grab a little bit extra on that over 1.5 in the first period. I grabbed even money this morning, so we should definitely be able to get plus 120, plus 130 just a couple of minutes into the contest, barring a goal being scored. So that's my approach for that. Now, if you like the Rangers, or even if you like Florida, the way to play this, and I'm twiddling my thumbs with this, but this might be something I tweet out before the game and before the betcast. I would look at Rangers to win game one and series plus 220, and then Rangers to win game one and Florida to win series at plus 350. I think that's just a better value option than just laying $1.10. And like I said, if you don't have a full series position. So that might be something I end up doing. I might chop a unit up and split amongst those two looks. So giving myself Rangers to win game one and then cover myself with some money down the road. However the series goes, it goes right in line with my 6-game, 7-game stack. So I'm on the fence with that. But if I do like that, I'll tweet that out at AX Sports and I'll retweet it with the Ice Guys account.
This is also that magical head-to-head matchup. And I remember every time this regular season we talked Panthers versus Rangers, we talked about this crazy fucking over trend head-to-head with both of them. It's uncanny what we have seen with both of these teams, that in 19 straight games, Panthers versus Rangers head-to-head, we have seen over 5.5 goals. 19 straight head-to-head meetings between the Panthers and the Rangers have had at least 6 goals scored in the game. That's just that's unbelievable. That's unheard of. And I think there's some degree of randomness to it, but at the same point in time, you've had similar core players, for many of these games, similar styles, and sometimes styles make fights. And clearly, we have seen goals aplenty between these two teams. Again, 19 straight have seen at least 6 goals head to head between the Panthers and the Rangers. For props for this game, shots on goal are still frustrating for me. A couple of losses with the shots props in the last round, so I'm taking it a little cautious with them here. But I like Tarasenko, former Ranger. He's going to want to make an impact here with Florida in game one. And again, with Barkov and Reinhart on that line, I think you look at this situation, I think Tarasenko might be able to strike, and he'll maybe get goal and assist, and that's often what I'll do instead of the point prop. Lundell's actually someone that's been starting to get his offense going up on the second line, centering with Tkachuk and Verhaeghe. Bennett, I think, got value as well. Barkov to get an assist, if not a goal. He's been excellent here in these playoffs, so very interested in that little group as far as props go. Forsling, Montour for us, maybe some point props of some kind from the blue line for Florida. And then for the New York Rangers, we talk about Kreider's great game. Obviously, he's been outstanding in the playoffs, was great in the clinching game against Carolina. I think Vincent Trocheck facing another of his old teams, there's going to be that chomping at the bit to make a big impact. So the goal and the assist prop for him. I'm going to sprinkle on Hedl now that he's back in the lineup. And again, he's a playoff performer. Philip Hedl is a guy that has made an impact and scored big goals for the Rangers in the playoffs. So I think he's worth a look. And my number one prop, maybe of the entire game tonight, Alexis Lafreniere. And here's why. he's got family in attendance. And for game one tonight, if not for many other games moving forward in the series. I don't believe that was the case in the first 2 rounds, but the Lafreniere family is going to make the trek to Madison Square Garden, at least for game one tonight. So as if you need any more incentive for Lafreniere to have a great night and want to put his best foot forward, you obviously do. It's the conference finals. You want to win a Stanley Cup, but family and friends in attendance, you better believe I think that could inspire Alexis Lafreniere even more, playing on that second line with Trocheck and the breadman Artemi Panarin. So I think Lafreniere props, knowing that little nugget with his family and friends in the building, definitely worth a look here tonight for the New York Rangers. And I do expect we're going to see some goals, as we often do here in game ones of a series. Maddie, what do you think here? Game one, Panthers-Rangers.
Yeah, so I'm on the over bifecta as well. I think there will be a couple mistakes and goals early. I could see it being 1-1 or 2-1, but I'll probably look for the both teams to score a few minutes into the game, kind of see what the pace looks like. I'm also going to jump on Florida to score in the first period over a half, minus like 140. I think they're going to come out and want to set the tone early, especially with the game being in in New York. I've teetered with Florida over 2.5. What I also was looking at is Florida over 3 and New York over 3 are both plus money. If you love the over here, maybe it's a 3-3 OT game, both of those, then you lock in at least one of those. You're not going to miss both. Might be something I look at. Might wait till in game, kind of see what the pace looks like. Again, with it being a betcast night and a first game of a series, I definitely love the over bifecta, but I'll also be looking to make some live plays. So we'll kind of see what the pace kind of brings those first few minutes, and then I think that'll determine a few more bets.
All right, good stuff there. That is game one tonight. Looking forward to it. 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't you dare miss it, especially this betcast, because it's free. Anyone can join us for this one tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you're there for game one tonight, Panthers and Rangers. And by the way, the lineups quickly. The extra forwards for the Rangers, Brodzinski, and people are going back and forth in our chat. Is Matt Rempe in? Matt Rempe's out as of right now. It doesn't look like he's going to be in the lineup for game one. They've got VC, Barclay Goodrow, and another player on that fourth line right now for the New York Rangers tonight. Could it change? Perhaps, but I think that's what they're going with. Yeah, Cooley, Goodrow, and VC on the fourth line. Kakko, Wenberg, Hedel, the third line. Lafreniere, Trocheck, Panarin, the second line. Roslovic, Zibanejad, Kreider, the top line. Lindgren, Fox, Miller, Trouba, Gustafsson, and Schneider, the defense pairings for the Rangers. For the Panthers, Tarasenko, Barkov, and Reinhart, your top line. For Hagee, Lundell, Kachuk, second line. Kuhlman, Lusterinen, Bennett, Rodriguez, third line. Lomberg, the Lamborghini, Stenlund, and Cousins, the fourth line. Forsling, Ekblad, Mikkola, Montour, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, as we like to call him, Lawson Tossum, and Dmitry Kulikov, your defense pairs for the Florida Panthers. So those are the lineups there. Before we wrap things up, we're actually going to get Matt's thoughts on game one specifically with Edmonton and Dallas. He'll be in Dallas tomorrow night. He'll be at game two in the building at AAC Saturday night for game two of this series. And then we'll get Matt's bargain bin and best bet right after that. But game one, West Final, Dallas minus 130, home favorite in game one, 6 the total here in this game. I'll throw it to Matt, but I will mention this right off the top before he gets into what he likes in game ones. We know Peter DeBoer's Mr. Game 7. He ain't fucking Mr. Game 1. He's 0-5. 0-5 with the Dallas Stars in game ones as head coach of this team. Can they finally get a win in game one? Matt, what do you think? Oilers Stars game one.
Yeah, I think they do. I think this is the perfect setup for them. They really should have had game one in the last series. They, let Colorado back in the game. They dominate overtime. I think the shots were 10-1 and Colorado buries their one opportunity. They were coming off a tough series with Vegas. And so, I think fatigue was a factor there. The Avs had some time off. They pretty much rolled Winnipeg, so there was no real stress on them towards the end of that series. I think this is set up perfectly for Dallas. I do think the first period, there could be some rust. Maybe some mistakes are made. Maybe they need Ottinger to bail them out, or Tanev to have a big block on a backdoor empty net like he did against Colorado, I believe in that game 2, or maybe it was game 3. But anyway, I think this is a good spot for Dallas. I will be on the over by Fecta. It looks like the over's at 6 right now, and it's like minus 125 for that first period over. I think there's going to be goals early. I wouldn't be shocked if Edmonton does score in the first period, but I think Dallas is going to be ready to rock, and I think they'll get one as well. Really the only other pregame bet, and I'll look at some props. I haven't really thought about it too deep, so I don't have enough for you. Obviously, the same guys are always a good look. One prop I'm going to be pretty heavy on this, at least the first couple of games, and we'll see how it goes, is Matt Duchene. Pete DeBoer said in that radio interview, I think, scoring that goal kind of, he's had a pretty good playoffs, maybe not statistically, but he's been a factor in some games. Maybe that's the weight off his shoulder. He beats his old team. Now he's really feeling the confidence. And DeBoer was saying that he thinks he'll really get rolling this next series. So I'll probably be on like a goal assist point prop for Duchene amongst, the normal guys, Wyatt Johnston, Jamie Benn that I mentioned, plays good against the West. Tanev block shots is always a good look, especially in a game 1 where, maybe there'll be some defensive breakdowns. Edmonton has guys that will get shots on net. So Tanev block shots, he's got 7 days to rest the bones. So, that warrior will be back ready to eat pucks. So, yeah, outside of that, the only real bet pregame will be Stars team total over 3.5 plus 120. I think Edmonton's goaltending is questionable. I know they've stepped up defensively, but it'll be interesting to see if they can do it against a team with 3 lines that can score and a 4th line that still creates chances. So, maybe it's a 3-1, 4-1 with an empty net, or maybe 4-2, whatever it may be. But I think Dallas getting to 4 is, if they win the game, I think that's very possible. So that'll be what I'm on pregame.
Here's the thing about Edmonton, though. Everyone's going to say that defense finally figured it out, right, at the end of the Vancouver series. They finally played good team defense, right? And maybe that's a sign of things to come. Well, hold on now. Game 4, they did it, but they were bolstered by the switch to Pickard, I think, in Game 4. That got everybody's attention. Everyone's focus on we got to be better defensively. We got to help out our goaltender. And they did in Game 4. Credit to them. And then they did it in Game 6 and in Game 7 when they went back to Skinner. But again, it's a goalie change. It gets people locked in defensively, and you're facing elimination in both games. Edmonton, Game 6 and Game 7. That's not the case here. So I'm thinking, do they have that same defensive intensity and focus right off the hop in Game 1 tomorrow night in a new series? That's going to be something to watch for early in the game tomorrow night. All right, Matt, before we let you go, bargain bin special of the night. What do you got for us with that?
Yeah, so obviously one game to choose from, but you kind of mentioned it. But I think I have a buddy that's a Rangers fan. He says that guys that played for the Rangers always score against the Rangers. I think Tarasenko is going to want to get one rocking early, former New York Ranger. So I'm going to take Tarasenko anytime goal scorer, and also I'm going to put a little bit on him to score the first goal.
All right, so Tarasenko anytime goal, and Tarasenko first goal, which again you can get to pretty good odds, pretty good price with that as well. So Tarasenko, I know, to get the first goal plus 2,100 at FanDuel, to score a goal plus 400 at FanDuel. So pretty good price there. Tarasenko plus 400 anytime goal. We'll make that the official bargain bin special of the night for Matt, but a little sprinkle on the 21 to 1 for first goal for Vladimir Tarasenko as well in the game tonight. All right, Matt, best bet. What do you got?
So before I get to best bet, I just went full panic mode. I couldn't, after I said that, for whatever reason, I was like, wait, did he just go from St. Louis directly to Ottawa before going down to Florida? But I remembered he was in New York for the back half of that 22-23 season. So
yes,
save myself from feeling like an idiot.
Oh yeah, he was a former Ranger. Not long, half a season, but he was there. Yep.
Yeah, 31 games and then 7 in the playoffs. But yeah, so I still like it. Think he wants to get rolling. As far as best bet goes, I think my best bet is going to be the first period over in the game tonight. like I said, both teams had a bit of a gap. There's going to be some rust. A lot of times when they talk about teams getting a lot of time off, like it's rest for, guys that are banged up, but goalies kind of get out of rhythm. Nothing compares to game situations, especially playoff hockey. Maybe one of the goalies gives up a soft goal. Maybe there's a power play for the other team. I love 2 goals in that first period. So it'll be Florida, New York over 1.5. That's my best bet of the night.
All right, there it is. Panthers Rangers over 1.5 first period. Best bet for Matt Robinson. Matt, safe travels, safe flight to Dallas tomorrow, and just have a blast, man. This is what we live for as fans of the teams in your city. Mavs and Stars at the same time, and you'll be there for Game 2, Oilers Stars Saturday night. Have a blast, my friend, and enjoy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and that's another thing that I feel the energy down there is electric right now. Why I feel like maybe Dallas breaks that 0 for 5 in Game 1s the last 2 years is the Mavs, while they're not in Dallas tonight, like that whole AAC Victory Park area is just gonna be rocking for the next 10 to 14 days depending on how both teams do. So I think it'll be a good atmosphere, and yeah, I'm really excited to be down there. Last
of course,
year
we
I
won't
went
see
to
Matt on the
at least
betcast tonight. I do want to point that out. Yeah, it's
yeah,
not like the
yeah,
last
I'll be
time
here tonight. Yeah, for sure. And I may sneak on tomorrow night as I'm walking over to the arena or something from my phone just to say what's up. But yeah, last year I was able to go to at least one game in every series. This year, with work and me being in Vegas, but Bennett flipping to Colorado, like it just didn't work out timing wise. So I'm real excited to get back into the AAC, and I think it's gonna be fun. I think anytime you get to watch McDavid play in a game live, it's fun. He's so fast. I think Dallas is in a forum that they haven't been in a long time. So I'm really excited to be there. But yeah, thanks again for having me today, and I'll see everybody here in about 3.5 hours.
Great comment from Kenny Woo Woo Woo. Just don't let Dak Prescott come to any home games. Yeah, I agree with that. Keep that man out. Yeah. Keep him out of there. Keep Tony Romo out of there. We don't need any of the losing Cowboys in there. If Dirk Nowitzki wants to come to Game 1 or 2, he is welcome. He is king of Dallas. But yeah, keep the fucking Cowboys guys out of there. They haven't won shit since the Troy Aikman Emmitt Smith era. So anyone that's post like 1998 Dallas Cowboys, stay away from the arena. Stay away.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody gets
cool.
Get out of there. Exactly. All right, Matt. We'll see you tonight.
See you, Matt.
See you in a couple hours, boys. Have a good rest of the day.
All right, there he is, Matt Robinson. All right. Yes, and speaking of that betcast, it is tonight, and it is at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we're looking forward to it. Live betting and commentary, DM or email to request a spot on the betcast, either Alex or I, and we'll send you the link for the betcast, 8 p.m. Eastern, Game 1, Eastern Conference Final, Panthers and Rangers. We're definitely looking forward to it. And again, tomorrow night's betcast for the West Final, Game 1, is Patreon exclusive, so for that one, make sure you sign up in the next 24 hours. Patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 a month to be part of tomorrow night's betcast for Game 1 of the Western Conference Final. And in addition to the access to the live betcasts for the rest of the playoffs, you'll get our daily sides, totals, and player props, goalie charts, totals charts, access to the off-season content that we will be providing on the Patreon page. So make sure you sign up, patreon.com/IceGuys, just $10 per month. And check out the Ice Guys store as well. Great gear and merch available each and every day. iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Yeah, starting today and for the next 5 days, you get free standard shipping on all of your orders over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock. Caps, I'll actually be modeling one of the caps tonight that my order has arrived here today. So caps, the T-shirts, the hoodies, everything you want. All available for next 5 days with free standard shipping. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, great stuff there. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night from me and Alex, as well as Best Bets coming up right after we hear from our great sponsor. right, Boston Hemp Inc. Check them out. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Matt Robinson, we already heard from him going with Vladimir Tarasenko, plus 400. Florida Panthers for his bargain bin special of the night. Alex, where are you going tonight for game one in the bargain bin?
I like a first goal prop, but it's not the same as Matt's. In fact, I'm actually tailing one of our guests that will be coming on tonight, good old Sammy P. He gave this out late last night, and he liked it, and I actually even got a better price than he did. Artemi Panarin to score the first goal of the game. I got plus 1,100 at FanDuel. He's been a guy, like I said, floating in the mix of being one of those top forwards throughout the postseason. Like I said, I don't know if he's worth taking a shot to win the Conn Smythe, but I definitely think he will be a big factor in the series. I think he'll be a big factor in this game. So I think he leads it off with the goal scoring. Plus 1,100 for Artemi Panarin to get the first goal of the game. That is my bargain bin special for game one tonight.
There you go. Artemi Panarin, first goal, New York Rangers. And you can get upwards of plus 1,100 at FanDuel. For Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. And my bargain bin special of the night, it's going to be the man that we talked about that's going to have friends in the building. Now, he's barely going to make it to bargain bin worthy, but plus 300 at FanDuel and plus 300 at BetMGM. So we've got at least just barely, but it's good enough. It makes the grade. Alexis Lafreniere for the New York Rangers, plus 300, right on the nose. For my bargain bin special of the night for game one of the Eastern Conference Final. All right, best bet. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, we got to roll with this first period over here at even money. Like I said, we're going to add a little bit more in game, but the over trend is absolutely absurd with these two teams, full game and first period as well. So first period over 1.5 at even money for the Florida Rangers and the New York, Florida and the Rangers in game one of the East Final. That's my best bet.
All right, Florida Panthers, New York Rangers over 1.5 plus 100 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet, look, I'm on the over trifecta, and I'm on a piece of that first period over. Both teams to score in the first, but Matt's used the first period over, and so is Alex for best bet. So I'll just go with the full game over for my best bet here. Panthers, Rangers over 5.5, minus 110. It's 19 straight head-to-head meetings with at least 6 goals. It's the fact that game ones in these playoffs have been higher scoring more often than not. So put it all together, and for me, the case is clear for over 5.5. Panthers, Rangers, over 5.5, minus 110 for my best bet. That's a wrap. Betcast tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. Looking forward to it for game one, Panthers, Rangers. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. We'll see you for the live Betcast, 8 p.m. Eastern, and again for the Ice Guys tomorrow on Thursday.